So some of you have asked what I do in my week, or what's my training week, what does it look like? So in this video I'm going to give you some ideas of what I do through the year, maybe how it changes and what sort of sessions I do. I'm David and this is Forest Velo. So the mainstay of my week is a chain gang. On a Saturday morning, the actual chain gang's about 35 miles. It takes about an hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes, maybe 100 minutes is a fast thing, maybe sometimes a bit longer, depending what the weather's like and what time of year it is. But for me, it's a full gas effort. You know, half the time you're just about holding on, doing your bit on the front, coming off, then holding on again. Sometimes it's a bit easier than others, depends who turns up. So basically every week I do that through the year. Around that, it changes depending on what time of year it is. This year, I was particularly getting into Zone 2 and calling it Zone 2 more and doing those sorts of efforts, whether out on the road and whether on the turbo. Round the chain gang, I was doing a lot of Zone 2 and maybe one interval session in the week. So maybe on a Wednesday doing a VO2 max type of interval, something like 2 minutes on, 2 minutes off, or 2 minutes on, 4 minutes off, those sorts of things. And I use Trainer Road, which is very useful for workouts, but also obviously it gives you whole training plans, and I often loosely stick to one of those. So I have that, keeping track of everything I'm doing, and if I'm doing an interval session it'll be on Trainer Road. I have in the past used Zwift and done Zwift racing to replace like a chain gang. If it's a wet Saturday and I don't go out, sometimes I'll do a Zwift race. So in the winter, that's the basic training plan. Do a really hard session on a Saturday, do lots of Zone 2 when I can, and one interval session probably in the week. So maybe that's looking like 3 hours or so of hard work and maybe 6 or 7 hours if I'm lucky of easy riding, which might be solo riding, might be a club ride, might be on my turbo gradually every day doing some Zone 2 in the hope of building up my base and building up my aerobic endurance. And actually this year, doing Zone 2, I really did notice an improvement in my power at that Zone 2. So as I did it over weeks and months, gradually the power I could produce, but staying at my sort of Zone 2 heart rate, which is around 130, did improve. If you're enjoying this video, click that like button and hit subscribe. That'll really help the channel grow. So as the year progresses and we may be hitting the springtime, and hopefully I've done quite a lot of traditional Zone 2 base miles, I might start to drop that a bit, and so probably we'll start doing another interval session. So as the year progresses and we move on to the springtime, I'll start to do more or less Zone 2 and maybe another interval session. So one of those sessions I'll start doing as another interval session, maybe like a threshold type session. So things like 10 minutes around your threshold power, sessions like that, 10 minutes on, 5 minutes off, another 10 minutes on, and gradually try to build that up. So maybe by the summer I'm doing 20-minute efforts at around my threshold, or over and unders and various workouts like that, where you're just going over your threshold for a little bit, then going back down below it, then above it, then below it. So my zone 2 will gradually decrease a little bit, and then I'll be doing some intervals. So maybe in the summer I'm doing more 50-50. I think some people refer to that sort of pyramid training when you're doing a broader band of training. And sometimes I'll just go out for a ride, you know, whatever it is, doesn't fit in with a schedule, but someone said, do you want to come out for a ride? And it'll be, yeah, okay, do some extra miles. So as you can see, it varies through the year. Like I said, I stick to Trainer Road as well. So I have done that for, well, probably years now. 7 or 8 years I expect I've been on Trainer Road, which has helped me get to a certain fitness. I have found it harder as I've got older to push that fitness on, but it's nice to have all your training in one place. And like I said, if you're on one of their training plans, for example, they've got a thing which is, I think, like a climbing build program for longer efforts. So I'm on that at the moment. So that's giving me some VO2 max on a Tuesday and maybe some more sort of threshold stuff on a Wednesday. That's because I'm going to Mallorca and I'm sort of building up the sorts of efforts you'd be doing climbing mountains there, which could be, you know, 45 minutes or whatever going up a climb. Another thing I try to do throughout my training is try to be progressive. So I don't just do the same sessions, you know, for a few weeks. I try to up them. So if I'm doing intervals, maybe I'll do 2-minute efforts at VO2 max, or 110-20% of threshold, and then maybe the next week I'll be doing 2.5-minute efforts like that, and gradually pushing the training. Same in zone 2. I won't just do the same thing longer and longer periods. I'll push it up, so either try to get slightly higher heart rate and see what sort of power I'm doing, or just up the power. Easy on the turbo to do, so up my, what I think is my sort of upper zone 2 power, and maybe the next week try 5 watts higher and see if I can maintain that, or what my heart rate does and how that responds. And by gradually doing that progressive overload, your body changes and reacts, and hopefully you get fitter. Well, that's the plan anyway. As well as that, in my training I'll do off the bike stuff like weights, and at least once a week I'm doing some weights, general body weights, as in using barbells and dumbbells and things, but doing it for my whole body, not just my legs, trying to build up and keep muscle mass as much as possible as you get older is important. So I'm doing that, and for some functional sort of strength in my hips and core and things like those, I'm doing some other off the bike training as well. I'll do a video about that soon, so you can see the sort of things I do to make sure I've got good hip strength, core strength, and ultimately for me stability on the bike, which leads to more power. If you've got any ideas or things, suggestions or questions, don't forget to drop them in the comments below. And it'd be interesting to see what other people do through the year, or what works really well for them. Especially if you're older, it's interesting to find out what sort of interval sessions or general training people do, and what works and what doesn't. So I hope that gave you an idea about the sort of training I do. Like I said, if you've got any questions, just ask. And until next time, see you soon.